and we're back in the studio. And in this episode of SynergyXR Talks, we're going to be focusing a little bit about what happens after you start using virtual reality as an element in your training and learning platform. So before we dive into that, just a quick remarks or thoughts on my side on what happened in 2023 and what I think will happen in 2024. And feel free to chime in if you, I would love to hear your take on 2024, Helle. But first, let me give you a quick introduction to my view, and then we'll have an introduction of you, and we'll have a conversation about how VR training is affecting the organization and the humans involved in using VR. So 2023 have brought a lot of interesting perspectives, I think, to this industry. I think we have had a lot of pilots and proof of concepts with the clients that we work with. I think in 2024, we're going to see a shift in that mindset within a lot of different companies, from this dipping your toes in the metaverse pool to actually deploying and start using it on a larger scale. And there's a number of reasons for me thinking that, and one of them are that we see, obviously, we're increasing our support for different headsets and devices. So we talked to Quest, we've been supporting them for a long time, HTC, Pico. All of these companies are really looking into expanding their footprint within their existing client base. And they're looking for content like the one that we're providing them with to exactly that use. So we see a lot of interest for really large corporations actually starting to looking into more full-scale rollout of using VR. At the same time, we have now added support for integration to learning management systems. So VR is now not just a game or a toy in the organization from a learning perspective, but also a part of actually tracking people's ability to do different trainings and making sure that if I need to take a training, we can document that I took it and I passed it and I'm now certified to do whatever I need to do. So we see a lot of that as well. And then ultimately, Apple finally entered this space, and boy, are we some who really have longed for that for a long time. And even though we don't have the Apple Vision Pro yet, I think yesterday I saw a rumor on X that launch could be expected as early as late January next year. We'll see about that. But the conversations we have with companies is that Apple alone, just saying, hey, now we're actually entering this space, have made a lot of companies go from, yeah, let's see what happens, to, no, now we actually need to get serious about this. And then there's companies like Isover, Saint-Gobain, who's already on the forefront and have been working with virtual reality for a long time now, I dare to say. We met a few months ago to have a talk about your initial introduction of one of your first trainings, and that was a technology talk. I think we should add the link to that episode in the notes somewhere. But today let's have a more in-depth talk about what happens when people actually start using it. So Helle, welcome and thank you for joining the studio again.
Thank you, Jacob.
For the audience that didn't see our first conversation, please give us a quick introduction to who you are and your role at Isover.
Yeah. So my name is Helle Monke, and I work as a training coordinator at Saint-Gobain Isover in Denmark. And I am a project manager for our virtual reality project and also augmented reality project. And my main task is about the training systems, competency development. So,
you have a background in sociology.
Yeah, I have a background as a cultural sociologist, but have always worked with digitalization and on, the edge between human and machine, and so.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, and this is, VR is. It's both about human learning, but it's also about new technology. So I think it's very exciting to be part of this development.
I think that's a very interesting point, because what we have learned with the conversations we are having with the companies is that it's not just about using a new piece of technology. This is a completely different way of doing training, and implement that in the existing toolbox. It's a change management project. And
definitely. So, but I always say that digitalization is all about organizational culture. So it's not just about technology, it's culture, because it affects the way we work and, like you said, the way we learn. So we need to think about our people and our everyday of work when we talk about new kinds of technology. So
okay, so take us back to before we had our first conversation. I know safety is on the top of the agenda.
Yeah, safety first at Saint-Gobain. And we are a production site with heavy machinery, and like in other production industries, we need to take care of our people. People need to get home safe every day. So for us, safety is the most important thing. And this is also why we really prioritize our safety training, that people have the right skills in order to work safe and, of course, also efficiently, and they have the high quality of work. But safety is a main concern for us. So that's also why we have really spent a lot of time and prioritized also to do training. But perhaps I should stop
we'll
now?
get there eventually.
Okay.
No. I mean, we can. There's no. We don't have to follow the script.
Okay.
We can go in all the directions we want to, as long as we cover all the different topics. So I really love the get home safe approach, and I mean, so before, just let's just quickly describe what the VR training that you came to us and then we helped you with. What is it, and why did you choose that for the first training?
Yeah. So of course, when we started out with the VR project, we were also in a learning process, and we needed a project where we could both learn and know when to use virtual reality for training and when not to use it. But also, it should not just be a project to learn and get some experience. It should also provide us with something that we can use. Yeah. And for us, it was obvious we would like to work with safety training. And we chose the LOTO procedure training because it's totally fundamental for our safety. The LOTO procedure is about
Lockout Tagout.
Lockout Tagout, yes. Yeah. It is a procedure where you secure your machines, you block for energy sources so that it cannot start when you start working on it, and you have to repair, do maintenance, and so on.
Yes.
So it's a very fundamental for all my co-workers, safety.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a sequence. You add small padlocks different places to avoid power being on,
yes.
to air pressure, hydraulics are being secured,
exactly.
and so you can do maintenance or support without being injured.
Yeah.
Yes, it sounds like a perfect place to start. And one thing that we often find, because I have a slide usually that I present to the people that I talk to about all the different use cases for extended reality and safety and training. It's just one little bullet. So identifying where to start when you're being presented with 25 different use cases that extended reality.
Well, we started by asking our organization.
Yeah.
Where to start? What's our main concern? And from that, we work with the different topics and what would give us the most benefit, and what could we learn from? It was also important that we had something that was limited, so that it was not too big. That we started so that we could get it done also.
Yes.
So I think that's it's very good to be very specific and concrete when you have to do your first training. But like in all other, when you develop training, it is very important, from my point of view, that you define the learning goals,
mm-hmm.
the purpose. Why are we doing this training?
Yeah.
What should people learn?
Yeah.
And use that as the backbone of the training. So, and if you cannot tell, there's a purpose or there are some goals, then you should not do it.
No.
So
before VR training, how would you introduce your employees to doing a lockout tagout procedure?
Yeah, we use I think like normal classroom training, PowerPoint presentation, and also some hands-on training also
at the equipment.
Yeah.
Yes.
But our challenge with the lockout tagout, or actually with a lot of our procedures in general, is that we have a 24/7 production, and it is heavy machinery. Meaning that if you do not know how to engage around the machines, then you are not safe. So how can we conduct safety training for people who need to learn how to be safe around machines without getting them in a dangerous situation? So we were dependent on planned or unplanned downtime in order to conduct the hands-on training. So that was also why we look. Okay, so how can we? We all know that hands-on training. It's we learn a lot more. We remember it when we do it.
Yeah.
So how can we do that in a safe environment?
Yeah.
And that's why we looked into VR, because then you are actually in a totally safe environment.
Yep.
But you can also train, the hands-on. So yeah.
One of my favorite moments when I'm with people who are new to VR is when they the first time put on a VR headset, even though we've been watching a 2D screen of this is the environment you're going into, and they go, yeah, that's fine. And then ultimately they put on the headset and the brain just immediately accepts you are somewhere else now. This is a new reality. And that's why we even added, so we do a lot with wind turbine and safety in the maritime industry. And one of the things that we do is we are adding like sounds of waves and seagulls, because not only the visuals but also the audio, you are immediately taken to that specific part of the production. I think we even added like an engine sound to your LOTO procedure.
Yeah, so the more senses we use when we are in a learning situation, the more we can remember afterwards.
Yes.
So, and like you said, when people put on the headset for the first time, they're just like, yeah, okay, it's just like a video, they think or so. But then they get so engaged and focused, they forget where they are.
Yep.
Pure physically, because mentally they are, in this case, at a packaging machine, and they need to put on some padlocks and so on.
Yeah.
But in the real world, they stand on floor in office floor somewhere. But they get so focused, and I think this is also one. On one hand, it's a safe environment, but it's also so focused. So, and what we want when people learn is to get their attention.
Yes.
Yeah. There are no mobile phones. There are no emails.
Squirrels. Nothing.
So, I think that's a very strong element also of the VR training.
Yeah.
But also that it's flexible, because you're not dependent on being at the machine. So we can have the machine running and have production going, and then new employees, they can still learn about the machine, but with a headset on. So it's also flexible. So.
One of the things that I really like about what you did is that instead of putting the VR training room, let's call it that, somewhere remote you actually created a room on the production floor. How well is that? How well has that been received by the people on the floor? Is it being used?
Yes, it is used. So the idea was that instead of it's new technology, it's new with the headset. So instead of it making something very special at some fancy meeting room across the street, then we took the VR headset to the production floor. And where we have this safe room, so it's nearby the production line, but behind the door.
Okay, yeah.
So it's visible.
Safety first,
so
again,
but it's also visible. So for a long time, people could see. Okay, I had this sign at the door. Okay, here we're going to have a VR room. And we really look forward for you to put on the headset, and so in some way we did a kind of ad for it by people. Okay, there will be a VR room. So but also it's nearby, so it's easy to access for the people who need to use the VR headset. And like I said, it's visible, and and created some attention.
What's the reaction been like from the people actually using the headset?
The funny thing is that we have talked a lot about this VR training beforehand. So we have presented it at some kickoff meetings and project meetings. We have told the organization about this is coming. We have shown some movies about it and so on. Yeah. So a lot of
you build up anticipation.
We build up some anticipation.
Yeah.
So
love it.
Most people have actually been very excited. It is we have integrated as a part of our LOTO certification training. So they know they have to have some theoretical part by an instructor, but then the hands-on training. Yeah. They really this is in VR. It's a new way of learning, so they really look forward to it. Yeah. So thankfully, they also thought it was fun and engaging.
Nice. Yeah.
When you build up attention, people should also think it's a nice way of learning, and most people like it. They think it's fun. Like I said, they get really focused and have a good time, but also learn. Yeah. And I think you can both learn and have a good time, and I think that most people can also recognize that your strongest memory is based on a feeling. Yes. So if we can create some feelings when we also train, then we also, work with the memory muscle. Yes. Yeah. And so they have fun, but they also learn something. Okay. But of course we also have some who is not that comfortable with it. Okay. But most people like it, but some are a bit more reluctant. And what we can see is it is also something to do with what background you come with. People who have been gaming beforehand, younger people who are used to use different kinds of technology, or family, fathers and moms who have bought a VR headset for the kids. Yeah. They are more comfortable with it than people who are not used to this. So we also work, we take this into consideration during the training, because we know that if you're not comfortable with it, then we should not push you, but then you can try, and if you do not think this is for me right now, then it's okay to step out and then look at, because we always cast it on a big screen, then they can follow it there. Yeah. And then eventually, hopefully, people get more used to it. Yeah. Those who are a bit more, not that comfortable. But like I said, most people have a good time. They really like it, and they ask for more. Yes. I think that's a good sign that they ask,
that is a good sign.
What's your next training project? Yeah. And can we try it? Yes. And so on. So, but I think you need to, in order to have a really good implementation, you need to consider that there will be different kinds of reaction to it, and you have to also be patient and accept that you have to handle different kinds of situations. And our instructors are really good at this. Yeah. Because
did you actually train some to be instructors, or how did that pan out?
It's too vulnerable if it's only two people at the whole plant who know how the VR headset works. So what we worked with was a train-the-trainer concept. So we have this group who is responsible for our LOTO certification training. Yeah. And we learned them to use the headset, and they should train the trainer. So they trained those people. And suddenly we have 15 people, instead of just 2, able to conduct training with the VR. So they know the headset, they know how to start it, they know how to guide people. Yeah. Because what we have decided, because it's new technology, a new way of learning, we have an instructor on site every time. Yeah. So that they get comfortable with it, and over time empower them to do it on their own. Yeah. So we have, we have trained the trainer to be a VR trainer. So it's just not just me who can do it. Yeah. I think that's very important, that it's not centralized, but it's decentralized, because it also, it's it gets more accepted also in the organization.
Absolutely.
When they see, okay, it's my normal job instructor who's also teaching me this.
Yeah.
And if he can figure it out, then I can also figure it out, and it's not that dangerous. So.
Absolutely. And I mean, tying back to my, let's see if they will be accurate, my predictions of 2024. I mean, companies who are currently looking into like larger scale rollouts with not only 10, 15, 20 people doing a pilot, but hundreds, perhaps even thousands with some of the companies that we talk to. You can't have one VR trainer.
No.
Like then it's not scalable. So I really like that approach that you're actually decentralizing the whole training aspect. One thing that I wanted to just go back to was so now VR training is a part of your like traditional curriculum. So you're still doing classroom training. You're still doing like hands-on.
Yeah, we see it as a supplement to our training program.
Yeah.
So it's not like it is replacing the other training. It is used for qualifying our existing training. So that's also why I say it's an integrated part now of our LOTO certification training, because we still need some theoretical knowledge that where it can be really good to sit in a classroom, a group of people discussing different kinds of, okay, how do you do this procedure and so on.
Yeah.
And then, people jump into the VR headset with some knowledge on the background, and then they could do it in virtual reality. But of course, we still have some hands-on training also, because it is also important that we get out to the machines. But this gives us an additional tool and an opportunity to make some hands-on training that is, flexible, like I said in the start.
Yeah.
But also, right now, people are getting certified to do the LOTO procedure. But in a year, people need to refresh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then our intention is that, then can get a short theoretical, refresher.
Yeah.
And then put on the headset, take the practical training, and then, go on.
Yeah.
It does not stand alone, but it is a very strong tool for qualifying.
We often hear in conversations that people are expecting VR training to be a replacement of traditional training. And I'm just glad that I'm not the only one with the perspective that it's not. It's a supplement.
Yeah, and it's also
a very powerful supplement, though.
Yeah, and it is it's a tool for an instructor also to make their every day of work also easier, so that they can choose, I need to put focus here, and the VR can help me here.
Yeah.
They have, we have a lot of people, a lot of procedures that need to be trained. So it is a helping tool also for our trainers. Yeah,
absolutely. So you told me one thing before we started this that I find that I would love for every company to experience that. So you're using the multiplayer version, obviously, since you're on the SynergyXR platform. So you have more than one person doing the training. Actually, you give an introduction, and you were telling me there was almost like a game of who could do the procedure faster than the other, and I love that element of gaming.
Yeah.
What's the reaction so far with the people using it and working together in VR?
Yeah, it's really been a positive reaction. So, like you said, we chose that we have an instructor, and then he or she has 2 to 3 people in a headset, and the trainer casted on a screen, so that the trainer can follow the procedure training and guide people.
Yeah.
But what we can see is this creates some kind of social learning situation where they can use each other and talk to each other, and it's not that, it becomes easier. Yeah. But like you said, we also had a situation with there were 3 guys, and the 2 of them, they just got it immediately.
Yeah.
They just, I know how to move, and I know how to click and so on.
Yeah.
So they just went into the competition mode.
Yeah.
And they just sprinted through it in less than 10 minutes and left the 3rd person behind.
Yeah.
So, but luckily we have some really cool, good instructors at site. Yeah. So he just said to them, so you tried it now, then you teach back, you take your coworker with you and show how it's done.
Yeah.
So I think it shows that people get so focused and they have fun.
Yeah.
But it is also important that they, like, we have this instructor also saying, okay, but we also have to learn here, and we need to have everybody with us also. Yeah. So, but that was a really good situation.
Yeah, that's a great way to embrace new technology. I really love that approach.
Yeah, but eventually we by doing this, like, a social thing also in learning, we also hope to. Our goal is to empower people in order to do it by themselves one day. So we are really helping the organization to embrace this tool, and then it to be more, autonomous.
Yeah.
Perhaps in a year or two. So, but you need to have a good organization around also the new technology and in order to support.
Yeah, I mean that's also some of the things that we see with the conversations we have. If you don't have a person like you or some of your colleagues that are really rallying behind the introduction of new technology, it's going to be very hard to make it successful.
Yeah, but you also need to make people curious about them and involve them in the process. So we have not just been in our own little space. We have involved people during test phase, and like I said, we had this poster on the door, and okay, just wait for it, and so involve, talk to people, listen to them. Perhaps they have a good idea also for how to do it. So. But what we can see is it's a learning for perhaps other who are implementing, is that when people are new at virtual reality, they start by they need to learn how to use the hardware first. So it's a good idea to prioritize that you have some time to learn how to use the controllers. I know you have made some really good, a small training session where you can learn how to use the procedure training and so on. Yeah. It is really great, because then people can do that beforehand, and then they can go into the training itself. Because if you need to, spend too much time learning how to move, then you do not learn.
No.
In this case, the LOTO procedure, because you're so focused on how does the technology work. Yes. So I would definitely recommend that you prioritize and perhaps ask you people to provide with this. It's really nice.
And I want to say a warm thank you for giving us feedback on our introduction, or the procedure that helps people understand how to use the controllers. And so, because we're working with it, a lot of hours every day, so we have a pretty good understanding. But your feedback has been really helpful to creating something that's very applicable.
Yeah, because for you and me, it is natural to take the controllers and we know just what to do, but we need to be aware that it's not common knowledge for most people.
No.
Most people do not know how to do
it.
Not yet. Most adults do not know it.
Exactly, in our experienced age, at least. Let's say it like that. So one person said to me at some point that we're going back to the it's a supplement, it's not a replacement. That they're looking into do different trainings, also including VR as a part of that. And they wanted to and here's a term that I'm sure I need to credit him for it, but he wants to generate the same amount of brain sweat using a VR session as if he was actually doing it in the right environment at the factory floor. So and I think that VR is able to take us to that degree, but I'm not going to say never, but it's really hard to learn how to use a screwdriver in VR, but you can kind of figure out the fundamentals. How hard to apply force or something really fine and granular. It's very difficult. So I strongly believe that using VR will become a supplement for a long time and never a replacement. But it's going to be so fun to see how that's going to pan out. Any remarks on the future on your side? How do you see VR evolve into your organization? And and you're allowed to be really futuristic, so no limits. We're allowed to talk about the future.
You know, I have always said we would like it to be an integrated part of our training program and not just for the safety training. Of course, it's brilliant for safety training, and we will develop more safety procedure training within the VR environment. But I also, and of course, machine understanding and so on. There are a lot of procedures also you can use it for.
Yeah.
But I also see that it should be a natural way of both training, learning, but also cooperating and developing.
Yeah.
It should. So I think that in a couple of years it will be a very natural thing to say, okay, we are developing this machine for you. This new packaging machine. Yep. Let's put on our VR headset. I am in Denmark. You are in Paris, and perhaps we have a person in the US talking about, okay, how could this fit into, and then move around and take parts away and put in some parts. So I really see a great potential in innovation and developing, like I said, new machines or trying out new procedures. So what if we change the procedure? Okay, let's play with that in VR. Yes. We do a different kind of LOTO procedure. Yeah. We will not do that. Our LOTO procedure is very strong, but another kind of procedure.
Yes.
Could we do it in a different way?
It would most certainly be cheaper than actually having engineers changing the physical setup, but just play around in VR and do some experimentation there.
Yeah, also because you know that in Project there is people sometimes do not spend that much time on the planning, and then they just execute and they find out, okay, that was not a good idea, so we have to go all over again. But in projects where you model and you play with things and you have some tests and so on, and you use the time for planning, it goes much better. So put some of the planning in VR.
Yes.
Do the detailed planning there also. Try out your ideas. I think companies could really save some bucks.
Yeah.
if they tested out some things in VR before commission it. Acting on it. So
that's a great way to I think time is flying in this good company. I think I want to quote you on the companies can save big bucks by using XR. Let's just end it at that and continue this conversation at some other time. I really thank you very much for joining us again. I hope you're
thank you for
an open
inviting
invitation.
Me. Yeah,
always.
Thank you.
I'm really happy to follow what you guys do and how you implement technology. I think a lot of companies could learn a lot from that. So thanks for joining us and sharing. And to the audience, thanks for listening in. And we'll be back soon. Thank you very much.